Hello and welcome to Camp Xbox. Underrated games is always a fun topic for video. Games that were overlooked or didn't get enough love upon release. Everyone loves an underdog, and today I have a nice list for you. 5 games that I think need more recognition, and some of these might be flawed or not perfect, but despite these, they still are endearing. And maybe today, you'll find a new favorite game or a game you've been searching for. I want to say, all footage was captured off of an original Xbox, and I want to thank my YouTube channel members for their support. And if you want another list of underrated games, check out my second channel, Camp Extras, where I talked about underrated PSP games recently. But let's go ahead and hop into this list. First up is Galleon, released in 2004. It is the only game developed by Confounding Factor. Cygames published this in Europe, but Atlas published it in North America. This game was envisioned by Tony Gard, one of the co-creators of Tomb Raider. This was a development hell game, first conceived in 1997 for the PC, moving to the Dreamcast, then the GameCube, and it finally landed as an Xbox exclusive. I will be the first to say, this game is not perfect and is one of those flawed games that I referenced at the beginning of this video. This will work for some, but not others, but this game has a lot of charm, and I think it stands out as something different and interesting. In this game, you play as Captain Rama on a tropical island. You are observing a mystery here, and it's a unique take on platformers and point-and-click adventure games. Think of a classic pirate movie like Sinbad, but also a dash of Secret of Monkey Island. You'll go to different areas of the island and investigate a ton of objects. These many areas of the game are brought to life with its cartoony aesthetic. It's not going for anything realistic, but a more exaggerated cartoony style. It makes it stand out and brings the colors of the world to life. I love seeing an island theme in a game like this because it's not dreary, it's brightly lit, and having the sun shine brightly down on you brings out the pirate theme and makes something fresh. Talking about freshness though, I have to say the controls here are unlike anything else out there. This could be a major turnoff to some. It's a platforming game, but the movement is just hard to explain. The game is all about acrobatics, but the movement is done all with the left stick, and you walk almost in a straight line of movement. You have to move the camera in order to point into a new direction, and it sounds better than it feels, but honestly, I kind of like it. It felt like the developers were taking the ingenuity of Tomb Raider and putting it towards the next generation. It's not game-changing, but it's fun and unique. Throw in the interesting jumping mechanics and a ton of platforming challenges, and it makes the controls stand out. The platforming challenges and odd movement make it unique, and throw in that fun pirate story and a great score, and you just have a solid game. The Xbox is full of flawed exclusives like this, where odd chances were taken, but that means it's never boring. You can pick this one up and get something that you've never done before. And moving past the jankiness, you can have something rewarding, and it's an absolute gem. This is one that I think more people need to give a chance. Next up is Quantum Redshift. Released in 2002, this game was published by Microsoft Game Studios and developed by Curly Monsters. This is a futuristic racing game that ranks highly on my original Xbox ranking list as of this moment. It's an Xbox exclusive that stands out to me in a sea of awesome exclusive racers this console has. Quantum Redshift has you flying on hovercrafts, much like games like F-Zero and Wipeout, and it's even developed by past Wipeout developers. I think this game takes the great formula those games have and makes it work amazingly here. I love the way this game is set up like a fighting game. Each ship has a specific person piloting it, similar to F-Zero. This game focuses on each of their backstories, with each character having specific racetracks and rivals tied to them. Between matches in the story mode, you'll get cutscenes with dialogue driving the story forward. I won't say the plot is riveting, but I like that it's here. It's a nice way to flesh out the game and give extra stakes to the races versus just moving from race to race. The controls in this game are perfect and fast. Moving around in all the different areas feels great. There are so many locales, from desert canyons to cities, and each one has different terrain for you to traverse. As you move up in difficulty, the game gets faster and faster, and in turn makes the game difficult. It's the type of game that you have to master in order to play. So anyone who likes a good challenge with their racing game, it's well worth digging into. And this is a combat racer, and the AI is ruthless. They will send rockets out at you and try to blow you up, and it's very hectic. Personally, I love a good, fast-paced, hectic racer, and you get that here. It all looks fantastic on the Xbox and is a clean-looking game, especially considering that it was released in 2002. The lighting is stunning, and there's so many effects on the screen. Water splashes your screen, or the sun will reflect on your ship. It's absolutely stunning. Even in the cutscenes, there's some really awesome CGI models. Throw in that Junkie XL does the music in this game, and you have some awesome electronic hits. It's pumping and matches the breakneck mood of the game. This is just a plain fun and great looking racer. It is still very cheap to pick up today, and I highly recommend this one. After that, we have Azurik: Rise of Perathia. This came out in 2001 and was developed by Adrenium Games and published by Microsoft Game Studios. This is another Xbox exclusive and one of the most interesting Xbox games that no one talks about. Granted, much like Galleon, it's another flawed game. It has issues, but it has enough heart and soul to really make it a hidden gem. To me, a hidden gem doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be something special enough that it can be looked back on fondly and you still can get something out of it. To me, Azurik captures the huge open world feeling of the 2000s and what the next generation could bring, defining what was possible on the Xbox. In Azurik, you play the titular character and you must travel across the many different elemental areas of the world. You do this to restore the balance of the world. Now, this story might not sound groundbreaking, it is a bit substandard, going for a typical RPG plot, but this is an RPG that is not so much interested in fleshing out a huge plot. It does want you to create your own adventure and explore the world. It's such an open-ended experience, allowing you to figure out the layout of the map and discover its many secrets. The world is what is most striking to me in this game. It's gigantic for 2001 with huge vistas and so much to explore. It's a collectathon and they hide upgrade gems everywhere in this game. It feeds into the sense of majesty this game has with great adventure visuals and amazing score from Jeremy Soule. The scope and wonder are all here, and something about freely exploring this world is unlike a lot of experiences. Now, it does have some issues, like maybe too cryptic of a world. There are definitely points where you need a guide because this game does not hold your hand. Also, the lighting can be a little rough with interiors like caves drenched in pure darkness, yet this works in hand with your firepower to light these places up. The combat is really interesting though, allowing you to swap between 4 different elemental powers. You can mix and match these to make special combinations, and you can attempt to counter a lot of the enemies you find. It's really interesting, and the variety of enemies you'll find in the world is pretty staggering. Much like the scope of this game, it has huge worlds and a really nice open world hub city. It all interconnects in fun ways, and it makes for a fresh RPG experience on the Xbox. I think a lot of people can overlook a fair bit of oddness that this game has and find something truly special here. Next up is another Xbox exclusive, Dungeons & Dragons Heroes. This was developed and published by Atari in 2003. This is a top-down hack-and-slash RPG which is similar in vein to Dark Alliance. In this game, you can play a dwarf cleric, a wizard elf, a halfling rogue, or a human fighter. A classic mix of classes from Dungeons & Dragons. You can play alone or with a group of 4 taking on dungeons, picking up loot and destroying enemies along the way. It's a simple plot of you taking on an old resurrected evil wizard and leveling up to get there. This game is not groundbreaking or doing anything wildly new, but it makes up for that with just being a fun game. This is a hack and slash through and through, having you work your way through dungeons. It plays how you'd expect with a mix of magic and melee weapons, and all being well done. I think the nice simple variety of characters is great, and it's simply best in multiplayer. If you can at least get one other person to play with, this is going to be an excellent experience. This game is easy to pick up and play, so that means that anyone will be able to pick up and understand this one instantly. As usual with RPGs like this, I always find the looting system to be good fun. Just going through caves and unlocking a ton of chests and getting gold and swapping out all your new equipment, it's a great time. I can loot things for hours and mix in the simple combat, and you have something that's mindlessly fun, easy to understand, and you can kill a ton of time diving deep into the world. It's never a bad thing to just enjoy a fun game that isn't asking a lot from you, but the feeling can be very rewarding. I think it looks solid too, with a good old school RPG feeling. Mix in some fun music, and you capture the essence of Dungeons & Dragons well here. I think this one also has a huge RPG skill tree with a lot to see and do. It's one of my favorite hack and slash games on the console. Not enough people know about this one since this one slipped under the radar, with it getting cancelled on other consoles and dropping only on the Xbox. It's worth playing now just to have a good time, especially if you have a group to play with. The final game I'm talking about today is Freedom Fighters. This came out in 2003 and was published by EA and developed by IO Interactive. This one saw a PC, PS2, and GameCube release as well, making it the only multi-platform game I'm talking about today. This is a game that was underrated specifically by me. I had never touched this game until I started this channel, and yet I always get comments from a few of you about how great and underrated this one is, so I decided that maybe I should check this one out and give it a shot, and yes, this is certainly an overlooked gem. I think more people have rediscovered this over the years, but I still think it's worthy of putting on this list. This game is made by IO Interactive, the same team as the Hitman games, and they always have a distinct visual style, with clean character models and detailed worlds. This game is no exception and looks incredible on the Xbox. This could easily pass for a high-end PC game in 2003 on the Xbox, and it really pushes what the Xbox is capable of. It helps that this game runs at 720p widescreen with zero issues. All of the environments are rich in detail too, with tons of winding paths and areas to look into. All of these levels are giant and so much fun to walk through. In this game, you lead a force of people who want to take back New York City from the Soviets who have taken over. The gameplay design is really interesting for the time and continues to feel fresh today. You control troops, and you can send them out to attack as you move along. You can gain more troops by increasing your charisma by doing tasks around the city. This can be from saving people or doing things like blowing up monuments. You want to take over the city by raising American flags all around, and it's a really fun setup. The gameplay took me a moment to get used to since aiming is a bit odd with you clicking in the sticks, but you get used to it really quickly. But also it's just easy to fire from the hip, which makes this game feel fast and a little arcadey. And all of these elements come together, especially with the great score from Jesper Kyd. It's something unique on the console and is one of the best looking games on the Xbox. If you've never played this one before like me, you should definitely give it a try.
All of you. Stop these dudes! Enemy is nearby.
But that wraps it up for today. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. It really helps me on the algorithm. Subscribe for more retro Xbox content, and check out my second channel, Camp Extras, for more non-Xbox retro content. Comment below with any memories of these games. I'd love to hear from you. And be sure to tell me what I should put in the next iteration of this list. I'd love to keep going. And I want to give a huge shout out to my YouTube channel members. Thank you so much for your support, and I'll see you here next time at Camp Xbox.